Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is our Simple Abundance year with Sarah Bronick's book, Simple Abundance. And I wanted to continue our talk from yesterday, more about the holiday season, because Sarah's got some really time-sensitive entries that have to do with this time of year. And as I do sometimes, I am pulling today from the older version of Simple Abundance, her Daybook of Comfort and Joy, written back in the 1990s, because she's taken out some December entries, which I have some things to say about, some things that I remember. So I didn't mean to totally gloss over Hanukkah as I was talking about Christmas yesterday. I happen to celebrate Christmas, but I know that there are people out there that celebrate Hanukkah, and I think Sarah gives us a really good point that you don't necessarily have to be Jewish to celebrate the Festival of Lights. And she goes into the story. The story really is about a time when the lights in the temple, they kept burning. Like there was not enough oil to make it through. And it was a miracle, and they kept burning. So now Hanukkah is a celebration of that miracle, and so they have, I should have really read up a little bit more on it, but my memory of it is that they have, the menorah, which they light different candles on, and I know they have incorporated gifts as well into the Hanukkah tradition. But I'm going to read what Sarah says about it, because maybe you might consider taking some of the Hanukkah traditions and making them your own, because remember we talked about yesterday, this is your holiday season and you can make it your own. Many who celebrate Christmas may believe that Hanukkah is a festival reserved solely for those who practice Judaism. But as Harold Kushner points out in his enlightening, engaging meditation, it's called To Life, a celebration of Jewish being and thinking. If it weren't for Hanukkah, we wouldn't be celebrating Christmas. That's true. Jesus was a Jew. Had the Maccabees not rebelled against the Greeks, the Jewish faith would have faded into Greek culture, never to be heard from again. There would have been no Jewish community for Jesus to be born into. No one would have remembered the messianic promises he claimed. No, the messianic, I'm not familiar with that word. Messianic promises he claimed to fulfill. Without Hanukkah, there wouldn't have been any Christmas. I never really thought about that until just now. And she goes on to say, probably if you follow your family tree back, you may find that you have some lineage that ties into some Hebrew faith. And so Sarah says, personally, I've come to think of Hanukkah as a celebration of authenticity. The Maccabees refused to surrender what made them authentic, their faith, even if it cost them their lives. Not to be able to live as observant Jews was not to live at all. I also consider the Hanukkah miracle the earliest recorded demonstration of simple abundance. 2,000 years ago, there was only enough sacred oil for one night, but all that these faithful, courageous, and grateful people had to do. But all that these faithful, courageous, and grateful people had was all that they needed. We've talked about that a lot. Sacred oil in a temple, loaves and fishes on a mountainside, miracles of spirit, not any one faith. Miracles are for anyone who believes. That is the heart of Hanukkah and the soul of Christmas. The more we allow ourselves to recognize the wisdom and truth in other spiritual paths, the closer to wholeness we become. Yeah, I agree. I try to find something from every tradition and see the value of it. And so learning more about other faiths and traditions is really interesting to me, because I like how Sarah says you don't have to practice Judaism to appreciate some of the things. Like maybe you like to light the candles. I mentioned the Advent wreath with the candles on it when I was growing up. So maybe candles are a big part of the way you bring light into the home. And maybe it's just a way that you remember miracles. Because there's miracles from all different faiths, and hopefully you can think of some miracles in your own life. Okay. Shoot, I meant to grab something and I forgot. Because there's an entry in the old book called The Christmas Letter. You guys have any friends that write a Christmas letter? The reason I was going to grab something was because I do have a friend, my best friend from college. She still writes a traditional Christmas letter. Now, if you're younger than maybe 30, you might not know that this was something that everybody did. And it was basically this big, long, one-page thing about all the stuff that the kids had been doing all year and everything. And I think it became sort of like a daunting thing that people would be like, ugh, you know, that they had to read it. But I love getting my friends Christmas letter. She's actually the only one that sends me one, so it's extra special. I suppose if I had 20 to read, it might be obnoxious, but they are always super creative with their Christmas card too. And I can't remember if I mentioned this already, but their card this year was them in the two kids in front of toilet paper and big rolls of paper towel, and at the top of their card it says, "This year we just rolled with it." And they even had the dog all dressed up on top of the toilet paper stacks. So it was really, they're super unique. One year they were all little elves on the shelves and they did like Photoshop and everything. So I always look forward to their card. But so she writes a big long Christmas letter. And I like what Sarah says about, well, I'll just read what she says. I like this. I guess I forgot this one. I never really thought to do this, but it's a cool idea. Here's the plan. This year, we'll write a letter of our own. We'll write about our exciting safari of the self and spirit. We'll write about simple abundance. We'll write about the tiny changes that have made a great difference in how we approach our daily round. Then we'll write another letter dated this time next year. So this is like the time capsule thing that I'm going to open eventually at the end of the year. Hi, Annabelle. So that in that second letter, we will describe how our dreams, wait a minute. Then we'll write another letter dated this time next year, in which we'll describe how our dreams came true. So it sounds more like a pre-written story of, you know, like a manifestation of your dreams, kind of like what I like to write in my fantasy journals. In it, we'll outline our glorious ideal lives in detail, exactly what we're doing, how we're doing it, who's doing it with us. But we'll write these two letters in our discovery journals only, they're for our eyes only, because this is not merely our letter to the world, this will be our letter to the universe. What we're really doing is setting down our New Year's aspirations in concrete form. It's the same as writing down our goals, but a far more creative and fun way. So that's reminiscent of the other letters that I've shared with you that I'll do throughout the year. Like I have my letter that I plant under my little flowers in the spring. I don't know how I'm going to do that here in my new place. I guess I do have like a place outside my door. Maybe I can put them, but or writing something and throwing it in the fire, like I said, and we talked about that in the December Joyful Simplicities. So I really like this idea. So writing two letters, one is about how your year went and sort of like announcing to everybody, you know, I'm so proud of Carolyn because she did such and such and she did that and she's grown this way. It would be similar to writing about your kids where you were saying, you know, Carolyn got an award for her science project or something like that in school. So it could be the same sort of thing. Like Carolyn learned about the simple abundance principles this year and she shared them with people on YouTube. And she had a fairy tea party and she she opened up about her insecurities and her emotional imbalances sometimes and her body image issues. I bet you'd have a lot to write. I certainly would. It's been quite a year. And then also the other letter, that could be one that you put in your time capsule. Although when I told you about the time capsule, it's way back in January, that entry, I said that I don't have any real goals for myself on that. You know, you might write a letter about like how you hope the year goes, or you could draw a picture, or you could do anything, and then you don't open it till the end of the year. And you know, I was thinking about that letter. I have zero idea what I wrote back in January for that letter. I don't remember at all. Like, I don't remember if it was sort of a pre-paving story or if it was encouragement. I tend to think it might have been an encouraging letter to myself. I don't know, but I'm going to open it and then I'll remember what I wrote. So I think this is where we got the time capsule idea from. Your Christmas letter to the universe can be the most powerful motivational tool because it engages your emotions, increasing the impulses of creative energy. Your subconscious mind needs to transform the reverie into reality perfected. Yeah, so it's like those stories that I write in my little fantasy journal where I write like it really happened. And it's just fun to read those back because you can sort of rewire your brain. And I mean, I'm sure it's like a psychological thing that you could potentially create memories of something that didn't actually happen. I'm sure they've done studies about that. Many of us react to Christmas letters as if they're fingernails on a blackboard. Like I said, but it's kind of an old-fashioned thing that doesn't happen. So she's just talking about when she gets them, and she's trying to look at them in a different way so that she doesn't feel annoyed to read them. And I like how she makes this point, and we've talked about this before as far as like when you see someone's life on social media now, because remember, this book is pre-social media, so it'd be similar to a Christmas letter, but sometimes people are putting up a front, or you're just only seeing one thing where under the surface there might be other things. So she does say, just remember that your family and friends don't live edited lives. And I'm sure that those Christmas letters probably make everything fun in a beautiful way. Although I will say my friend that writes them, like, they do have a really wonderful life. So I do feel like it's genuine. She has an entry called Only 14 Shopping Days Until Christmas, and that was from earlier in December. But she talks about, and we know that one of the principles for her principles is order, right? She talks about how we can try to add more order to the Christmas season, and maybe it doesn't happen until next year, but this year we're kind of contemplating what it is that's stressing us out. Maybe you're waiting too long to shop. Maybe you are trying to make things and you don't start soon enough. Or this year with the shipping delays, it's like you need to make sure you get things packaged and in the mail sooner and things like that. So making a list for yourself so that next year you can be a little bit more organized and on top of it, so that you can actually sit back and enjoy the holiday season, and it's not just this frantic thing where you're out the night before shopping. And I don't understand why people do that. I guess it's sort of a family thing sometimes, and I don't mean to say it's only men, but sometimes men just, I think it's probably because they don't want to shop, and so they figure like they'll just wait till the last minute, and maybe they get good deals because they are waiting until the last minute. But I know when I worked at a card store, it used to irk me that the men would come in like 10 minutes before we're closing on Christmas Eve and expect to be, to get a card for every single person in their family. And I mean, of course they would buy anything you gave them, which was nice, but sometimes I would be just thinking in my head, did they not know that Christmas was coming? I mean, that's a pretty hard date to forget. I could see that you might forget your anniversary or someone's birthday or something, but you never forget that Christmas is December 25th. So I'm not thinking that any of them will change, but maybe if you're finding that the stress of the season is getting to you, you can look for ways to be a little more organized. Maybe it's make a list of the people that you want to send your Christmas cards to. Maybe you just print labels and you don't have to write them all out. I know when I had my business of 100 plus clients every year, and I used to write the cards around Thanksgiving because I would send them out like as a thank you holiday season sort of thing. But I would do them at least a month in advance so that I could do a little bit at a time, because otherwise you're just sitting down and then it's just like you're cranking out these unfeeling sentiments. So I always made sure that I got a really early start on those, and you can make it fun by getting special stickers and a holiday card. Postage stamps. I lost the word there in my head for a second. And then also she mentions the gift wrapping too. Maybe you're a last minute gift wrapper. Like you have everything organized, but then you don't wrap. And then wrapping feels horrible. So trying to make that fun. Maybe you'd still wait until the end. And oh my goodness, right behind you guys, my birds are so happy today because we got this huge snowstorm. So they're coming to my feeder, and there's all these beautiful male cardinals that look so pretty in the snow. So I just had like a little cardinal chorus as I was talking to you. So whatever you can do to add more order. And then this is another entry that isn't in the new book, and it's called There Really Is a Santa Claus. I want to tell you a funny little story. This happened to me when I was in, I think, college. So it was maybe my first year in college, and I was with my sister. I came home from college, and we were walking at our mall. And I lived somewhere where you had to drive a half an hour to the mall. So there were multiple towns of people that went to this mall. It was, I grew up in now it's much more built up, but it was just a pretty rural, spread out area that I grew up in. And so I'm at the mall and with my sister, probably 21, 22 years old. And just because I'm like this, and like I would go get my picture taken with Santa even now, like I'm still a child at heart, but Santa was walking towards us, and I said, "Merry Christmas, Santa." And he said, "Merry Christmas, Carolyn." And my sister turned to me and she said, "See, he's really real." And my sister's 5 years older than me, so obviously we were just having some fun, but I still to this day do not know. I'm assuming it was someone maybe I knew through theater, or maybe it was someone I graduated with, or obviously it was someone that I knew. But it was actually a pretty cool experience, and one that I'll never forget. So I suppose I could say, like, maybe there really is a Santa, and maybe that was really him. Maybe it was. It's fun to think of Santa, and I think some people have that memory of finding out that Santa really wasn't real, I guess. I hate to say that. I don't have that memory, I have to tell you, because my mom was so focused on the religious part of Christmas that she never wanted us to become consumed about the Santa part of it. So we did know that of the story of Santa, but we learned about who he was, like who Saint Nick was originally, and so we read the story, and so it was like a historical figure. And I think even the Easter Bunny, I guess I didn't grow up thinking that those things were real, although I will say I did believe the Tooth Fairy was real. I guess they never really had an explanation for that one. And maybe there was no religion that was going to take over the Tooth Fairy thing, so they let me have that one. But I don't have that moment of finding out that Santa was not real. And I know some people do, and they were devastated, and I do have memories of saying the wrong thing, though, around kids who still believed in Santa. Like my nieces or nephew, I had to be really careful about what I said. And one time, and I hope I'm not the one, I think my niece was about 12, so there's no way. I think she might have just been still going along with everything. But I figured she was beyond the point of believing. And I didn't say anything about Santa, but she was always wanting the elf on the shelf thing, and I, you know, we didn't grow up with that, but my sister never wanted to do it. She just hated the elf on the shelf. And so my niece made a comment about it. She was there with the older niece and said something like, you know, I don't know why we don't have elf on the shelf. And I said something like, Mom just doesn't want to deal with that, you know. And the older niece went, Caroline, like that. And all of a sudden I went, oh! I was like, do you believe in the elf on the shelf? Like, I really didn't think she did at 12. I don't think she did, because I went up to her room and I was just mortified. I was like, I hope I didn't just ruin Christmas for you and everything. And she's 16 now, so this is a few years ago. And she said, no, it's fine. I think, like I said, I think she was playing along, or I do know that earlier that same niece, not that year, but, you know, years before, she was always trying to trick people into saying something, because I'm sure the kids talk at school now, and maybe the magic doesn't last as long. But anyway, I'm rambling here, but Sarah talks about how it's fun to just kind of believe in Santa and believe in whatever makes you, whatever you want to believe in the moment, she says. That love makes it possible to believe in all things, especially miracles and magic. That's my word, magic. This is the season of miracles. There's a miracle with your name on it. That's when you wish upon a star, and grace steps in to bridge the gap until your dreams come true. There's a Santa Claus, and you have been very good this year. That's right, because Santa knows if you're good or bad. So you want to be good. I saw something funny on social media too, about if your kids are acting poorly, that you should put some wrapped empty boxes under the tree, and if they act up, you just grab one of them and the kids don't know it's empty, and you throw it in the fire. And you're like, if you're not good, I'm gonna throw your presents in the fire. Isn't that awful? But it's genius, though. It's pretty funny. But the Christmas story of Santa is a lot of fun, and the reindeer and Rudolph's one of my favorite movies. I always have to watch it. Santa lives in all of us, and he lives forever. Yeah, she tells the story of Miracle on 34th Street, and that's a fun movie to watch too as well. I think those are all the ones that I wanted to touch base on. We're going to talk about the winter solstice too coming up, because speaking of the star and wishing upon a star, I don't know the details, and I'll try to find them before I do this video, but there is going to be a huge astrological convergence of things, and I'm told that the star that we're going to see this year is one that it hasn't been seen, and these planets, actually I don't even think it's a star, I think it's the convergence of the planets, but it's going to create this really bright thing in the sky that will be reminiscent of the Star of Bethlehem, which I think is really amazing. So I'll do a video about the solstice, and maybe you can come up with some plans and light some candles or do whatever makes you feel warm and cozy. Today, with all this snow, it certainly gets us in the holiday mood here in the Northeast. And my friend wrote me a message and said it was time for hot chocolate, and I thought, that's a really good idea. I might do that this afternoon. Hope you are doing something like that, and that you're feeling cozy and filled with the joy of the season, and thinking about miracles, and thinking about miracles for the new year too, putting those things down on paper. What do you think? Let me know. Leave a comment for me. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.